fitness has always been big in my life, different levels of it. Eating, I was always known for like eating healthy, even as a kid.
You were the weird guy eating fish in the corner.
Yeah, I was the weird guy, and also like doing push-ups in my room and sit-ups and pull-ups. You know, I got like the only thing I had for so long was this like those pull-up bars that have like the push-up handles on them too, and you can put them on the ground or put them in your door thing.
Yes,
that's the only thing I used until I was pretty much like, you know, had my brother bought a set of dumbbells, you know, and they were honestly too heavy for me to lift for a while. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just keep doing this. And then got into college, and that's when everything kind of really started for me in the world of fitness, or if you want to call it that. Then it was more kind of like a really, really personal thing. And but that's how it started. And now it's so weird because now I feel like, you know, I want to say this in like a cocky or like an arrogant way, but like I feel like I've almost created like a space for people, you know, to come and be a part of the larger picture of health and fitness and share their stories and things like that. So it's kind of really been cool to be a part of it, because it's so much more than me. I feel like most people don't know my name or don't know what I look like, you know, when I show up somewhere, like, not that like the weight room's a big thing yet, but like if I would go somewhere, they wouldn't know. They might be familiar with the podcast in some ways, but they don't know who I am, because it's not, you know, it's not about me. So it's been kind of cool in that way.
Yeah. I mean, this didn't exist a year ago.
Yeah.
Did it?
I mean, not this. Yeah. There was the podcast, but it wasn't like in studio. It was definitely a reduced version of this.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and you coming from more or less an outside source, you know, you're not a competitor yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're creating this space for us folk to come in and kind of share our stories and stuff. And yeah, it's pretty dope.
Appreciate that. Yeah. And for people who aren't aware, you know, you came on the podcast before.
Yeah.
Via Zoom.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Yeah. Back in the day. And it was so cool to kind of like meet you even over Zoom, because that's when I was kind of really starting to get into people in the state more.
Yeah.
And I was talking to people from different countries, different states and things like that. And I kind of started digging deeper into Kentucky and just, you know, seeing that you had this, you know, really cool company, that you're a competitor, you know, things like that. And it kind of got me more excited about, hey, what else is kind of in this state that I'm not really aware of that is out there?
Yeah. I mean, Kentucky, it's pretty chock full of pretty decent bodybuilders, men and women alike, you know. About every single national level show, you're going to see one or two pretty good bodybuilders there from Kentucky.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here just for a second. Let me tell you about Smoking Gun Coffee. They're a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to produce a quality coffee at an affordable price. They only buy coffee from small coffee farmers around the world with a cup score of at least 85. Each batch is roasted to order for maximum freshness. They also donate a large portion of their proceeds to organizations that help local communities, veterans, first responders, or you can donate to the foundation of your choice at the checkout by going to www.smokingguncoffee.com. That's SMOKIN Gun Coffee. That's pretty exciting. I mean, what do you think it is? Do you have any rationale behind that? Is it just because, like, what else is there to do in Kentucky, or what is it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and even me personally, I'm from Somerset, so I'm 3 hours away from everybody else. Like, all my good bodybuilder friends, I get to talk to them on text and social, and that's it. Like, I see them 3 or 4 times a year at shows and events and all that. And then other than that, it's like, okay, cool. I mean, in my town, there's me and my wife and the guy who owns our gym, and we're the only people who have ever stepped on a stage in our town. And then you come to Louisville, and it's like, okay, there's at least one person on every block who's at least stepped on stage one time, you know? So, I mean, even, you know, from that perspective, from me personally, it's like, yeah, what else am I going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. And what does it feel like to kind of be the only people in your town to have this kind of lifestyle?
It's more or less just like keep to yourself, you know, because no one else is going to get it.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You know, I honestly prefer it that way. Don't get me wrong. Like there's challenges that come with that. You know, if you're not used to being isolated in a small circle, and that it can be a little challenging, but you know, basically all we do is, you know, run the business and train. We don't have any kids or anything like that. So we don't have any external responsibilities such as that. So it's wake up, go to work, get people fit through zillameals, and then go get fit ourselves. And if we have an hour to chill on Netflix tonight, that's cool.
Yeah. Just kind of that spare time sometimes that you find it's not necessarily, or is it in there sometimes where it's like scheduled, or is it just like, oh, if we get it, we get it?
If we get it, we get it. I mean, we schedule time off, but even during that time off, it's catch up.
Yeah.
Okay, what emails did we miss this week? Okay, what can we be planning for the future? And that goes with bodybuilding and the business, both together,
Yeah. It's very, I feel like, unique to have such a labor heavy lifestyle, as far as like what you have to do to stay in shape and to, the training, the eating, things like that, as well as like having a very involved business,
Fortunately, having a meal prep business, they all know what's required, measuring out food and all this and that. So I don't prep meals anymore. The last time I prepped a meal, was whenever I was going on a trip and they were off that day. So I had to do it myself, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I'm blessed in that regards, still got to train, but I don't have to meal prep anymore. Thank you, Zillameals and all the staff at Zillameals.
Yeah, and we definitely talked about it last time, but it's some pretty cool stuff, I think, to be able to impact somebody from a nutritional aspect, because obviously everybody has to eat. Sure. You don't have to train, you don't have to work out, you don't have to run, you don't have to do anything like that, but you have to eat. And I think being a part of someone's diet can be a very impactful part of culture, really, because we've kind of strayed away from knowing what to eat or having great options available for convenience and things like that. So I think it's really cool to kind of be a part of that mandatory kind of habit, I guess. Or
yeah, well, I mean, like you said, we have to eat, but one of the decisions that we make many times during the day is, what are we going to eat? And, if you're not a bodybuilder, or you're not in prep, or, you're not doing anything like that to where you have a specific goal in mind, those options are infinite. Do I want to be lazy and go through the drive-thru today? Do I want to eat leftovers from the night before, and this and that? So, I mean, in the marketplace, we're secure in that if you don't do this one thing, you will die.
Yeah.
But then it's persuading people to eat more appropriate for their health, and,
yep.
Ironically, and I was talking to several friends over the weekend, Zillameals was initially created for the bodybuilding fitness lifestyle. And then after our first couple of orders, we understood, oh, hey, this is not just for that. This is for everybody, Yeah. And like maybe, and I mean this, maybe 2% of our customers are bodybuilders, actually competitive bodybuilders, not just people who go to the gym, plenty of people are that. But it's convincing the average everyday person, hey, what you're putting into your body is going to be used in some way or another. So, I like to use I like cars. I like to use a car reference. You wouldn't put ethanol gas in a Ferrari.
Right.
So why are you putting trash energy into your body?
Yeah.
That's kind of, that's kind of my philosophy on that. It's a very enjoyable labor, if you will, because yesterday we had a woman come into the store. She's been eating our meals for roughly a month, I think she said, and she went from like a 3X to a 2X, and she's just a regular, average, everyday person, but she's just so excited that she's been able to do this just by just watching what she puts into her mouth. Yeah. She said, I'm going to go sign up for the gym now. So she's been doing just nothing, just changing her diet, and then she's already dropped shirt size in a month.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, my dad was in that similar position. He actually never started to work out, but he, just by watching what he ate, he dropped 65 pounds in a year. So, I mean, it really is what you put in your body is so important. We don't get enough of that pushed into our brains. We really, it feels like marketed against health in so many different ways.
Especially now.
Yeah. Yeah, and in a world where it seems like being healthy would be so much more beneficial, obviously with COVID and things, and obviously that's a little bit more died down than it was, but I think that would be kind of an eye-opener.
Yeah, exactly. It should have been a lot of people's wake-up call.
Yeah.
You know, my parents are never going to watch this podcast, so I'm going to talk shit on them for a second. They both had COVID really bad. Like my stepmother about passed away.
Wow.
She was in the ICU for a month. My dad was in there for 2 weeks. And I had to have a hard conversation with him. I'm like, look, you're overweight. You're really, really bad out of shape. You need to do something about it. Or, you know, like, I feel like this should have been, hey,
yeah,
Joseph Adams, your time is almost here. Fix it, you know?
Yeah.
But then it was just like old habits are hard to kill off, you know? Because, I mean, is it not easier to go get a prepared meal from a drive-thru?
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yep.
Yeah. But there's always an exchange of currency in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, you're paying cheaper on the dollar right now. Right. Later down the road, health consequences. Those are some pretty big bills.
Yeah.
So which do you want to do? Pay a little bit more for a meal that's going to be nutritionally dense for your body and not going to cause negative effects down the line? Or pay for it down the line when the doctor's telling you, oh, you're a type 2 diabetic now. You have to be on insulin for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And that's hard to it's hard to get people to really understand that and make a change, because there's so much kind of short-term gratification in unhealthy foods, and, you know, people using foods for comfort and therapy. And there's just a lot of, I think what we need to do is rewire what we think about what food is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a lot of people live for their next meal. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for lunch, or I'm so excited for dinner, which is fine. But what else are you excited for? You know, are you excited to accomplish another goal in life other than like, oh, I can't wait to go out on Friday night and get a steak dinner? Like that can be fun and fine, but when did that become people's only kind of form of enjoyment?
Yeah, it's very, very, very bizarre, you know, because our ancestors, they didn't eat for pleasure. They ate to survive.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just became so accustomed to convenience, the lack of having to struggle. You know, it's just, okay, I can go down the road. I can literally get anything I want delivered to my house now. You know, Uber Eats and, you know, Grubhub and all that. It's just like you can get anything at any given time. 3:30 in the morning, cool, I want a pizza.
Yeah.
Order it up. You know, it's just like we as humans, we're wired to take the easier path. Of course. Why not? You know, our bodies and our brains, they're only wired to make us survive. That's it. So it's obviously going to be better to take the easier path, you know, but then there's always consequences to doing that. Yeah.
And I think when it comes to that, you know, how are you making it easier to be healthier, eat healthier, you know? So I think that's the trick. People have to realize that, you know, if you're struggling to eat healthy, do you have healthy food in your house?
Right.
You know, or, oh man, it's 7:30 at night. Now I'm hungry. I don't have anything in my house. So I guess I'll just, you know, call Domino's or something. So make it easy for yourself, because like you said, we do the easiest things. That's why people who are successful, you know, they create habits and routines that are, you know, that are easy to do, that are, you know, programmed into their brain. So
yeah, but it didn't start off easy.
No, not at all. Not at all. It takes a lot of discipline for sure.
Yeah. Cause I mean, who wants to wake up at 4 a.m. to, you know, go for the run? Yeah. Who wants to wake up at 4 a.m. to, you know, get away from everything else to start on your, you know, your second business, you know, that type of thing. No one wants to do that because it's hard. Yeah. You know, that's why, you know, whenever it comes to food with zillameals, we try to make it to where, okay, you have a choice. It's not because it's not available. Like, we will literally deliver this to your house. If you are not doing this, it's because you chose not to do it. Right. You know, yeah.
And I think something cool that you just started doing was the meals for kids too.
Yeah. So it was actually my mother-in-law's idea. She works for us in the kitchen, and she just, she'll randomly just spout off these ideas. And so, like, 9 times out of 10, it's just like, what are you doing? Because love her to death. She's not in our type of circle. You know, she's not a bodybuilder. She doesn't work out at all. She just, you know, she works for us. And so, you know, her main thing with food is, does it look good? Does it taste good? You know, those are the only 2 things that matter. And then she came up with the idea of kids meals. And I was like, I think that might actually work, because we have customers who actually purchase these meals for their children, and they'll eat it up, chicken and rice, even the plain Jane stuff like that. I was a little hesitant to go with it at first. My brain's weird. It remembers all sorts of nonsense. A customer of ours had bought meals for her kid 2 years ago. And I asked permission because she posted it on her Instagram. I said, hey, would you mind if I screenshotted this and used it for some marketing material? Because, the way marketing works, if people see faces with stuff, they're a little bit more likely to interact with that versus just like seeing just, an inanimate object. And so her mom gave me permission to use the photo, and I got blasted on there. It was so bizarre because they were like, you shouldn't be advertising your meals to kids. And I'm like, so I can't advertise nutritionally dense food to your kid, but you're going to say anything to McDonald's for advertising Happy Meals?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's very strange to me. Do you not care what's going into your kid's mouth? Like, it's real food. There's no anything bizarre and strange in there. It's real food going into your kid's mouth. Do you know what's in a hamburger patty from McDonald's? I don't know what's in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They claim all natural, but I know a lot of bodybuilders that claim all natural too.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting when people kind of get out of their realm of comfort. They panic a lot of times about the most bizarre of things. It's I think it goes back to just changing, how can we change the culture? And I think teaching kids that these certain foods, these are healthy foods. These will benefit you. These are, maybe it's not as pleasurable as skipping dinner and eating the cookies for dinner, the brownie for dinner, when it comes to, parenting and strictness and things. We're getting, a lot of away from all those kind of things. But, we have to instill certain values, and we're choosing, in a lot of ways, to instill unhealthy values.
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
Yeah, and a lot of it goes to, our social culture that we're in right now, to where, all of this, my wife, she loves Victoria's Secret, or she used to. And so back whenever I'd buy her birthday gifts and stuff from there, I'm still somehow subscribed to these emails, and so I'll occasionally open one up just to get a good laugh, because now, they got rid of their fit models and stuff. And so now all of their models are, plus size,
yeah,
and so on and so forth. And they're claiming that this is healthy. Yeah. Like, they're actually saying that. It's not just like, oh, here you go. Yeah. Take with it what you will. This is the face of health. And it's like, you're out of your damn mind.
Yeah.
That person's going to die pretty soon.
Yeah.
Because
if your model gets COVID, that ain't going to be a model no more.
No.
Yeah.
So it's, I forget which magazine it was, but they had, a super plus size model and said the new face of health on it. And I'm like, it's a slippery slope, because you don't want to offend anybody, because everybody, I feel, should be confident in their own body, but also be consciously aware that there are consequences to how you live your life.
Yeah.
And if you choose to live this lifestyle, that's fine. We're in America. As of right now, on this day, we're still free. You can do that, but just understand there's consequences to pay down the line. And, if you choose to pay later or pay now, you're going to have to pay.
Yeah. And I think, because of the push in certain directions, there are young people out there who see that and they're like, okay, that's acceptable.
Yeah. Like whenever Lizzo decided she was going to drop some weight and she got blasted for dropping weight.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, she just wants to be healthier. Like,
yeah,
she made her brand off of being who she is.
Yeah.
But her voice isn't going to change.
Yeah.
Because she drops 100 pounds.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
and you can enjoy her music longer because she'll be alive longer.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's a crazy culture for sure that we're experiencing right now. It's definitely something that, looking back, to say that you were kind of a part of all these things in history will be, I don't want to compare it to like World War II. I don't think it's that crazy necessarily, but it's almost in some ways like as influential potentially, you know, if we keep going down this path.
Sure. And it's almost like, are we just more connected now and we're seeing more of the crazy, if you will? Or are people actually getting crazier?
Yeah.
Or maybe a combination of both.
Yeah. I think it could be both. You know, we have more people, more access to spreading your voice. And then you have, unfortunately, kind of like we're talking about, businesses who will cave a lot of times under the pressure of the loudest voices. So we have to be careful, I think.
Usually the loudest voices,
step.
there's not that many of them, though. They just scream really loud.
Yeah.
You know, because whenever we, probably about year 2 in business, a lot of people, I say a lot of people, I just said that. It wasn't a lot of people, but we had several loud voices who wanted zillameals to produce a vegan line. And I was like, fine, we'll do it. Cool. Then it started off, cool. Yeah, here we go. And then by like week 3, we're selling like 5 meals.
Yeah.
Like we're at 0.001% of our entire meals being sold as vegan. I'm like, yeah, we're losing money now.
Right.
All 3 of you all can just, you know, shop somewhere else or choose a different lifestyle, I suppose.
Yeah. Or start your own vegan, you know.
Start your own vegan.
There you go.
I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah. Everything's an opportunity. So, yeah, that's the lane you want to go down.
No, not knocking them at all. There's a niche for everything.
Right.
You know, but we're in Kentucky.
Yeah. There's,
you know,
it's not the hot thing.
It's not.
Yeah. No, it's pretty crazy. But kind of getting to the bodybuilding side of things,
Sure.
you know, how has this past year for you? How do you feel like you've kind of developed and the experiences you had and things like that?
It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. So I competed in 2020, and that was my first competition with a coach. Long story short, I started competitive bodybuilding in 2012. Being from Somerset, where, like I said, there's nobody that competes there. And so didn't take me long to be the biggest guy at my gym. And so this was right around the time social media was taking off, but not to the point to where it is now, to where you can just look up people, and I didn't know anybody, you know. So I signed up for a show in 2012 thinking, oh, hey, I'm going to go mop the floor. Little did I know I was going to be the mop, you know. So I remember I competed in bodybuilding. This was the first year of men's physique ever existing. Before that, it was just bodybuilding. It was the only thing you could compete at as a man. So this was the first year of men's physique, and they had the board shorts, and everybody was just like, oh, they don't train legs. They're not hardcore. They're just a bunch of pretty boys. And I'm like, well, I'm hardcore, you know. I'm going to compete in bodybuilding. I'm 6'1", and I weighed in at 187 pounds. Everybody else who weighed in at under the weight cap, like 189, I think that's what it was back then, was like 5'4", and shredded to the bone.
More dense.
Oh, a lot more dense. Yeah. And so here I am sticking out like a sore thumb on stage, and I'm like a little string bean over here. But I didn't place last, so that felt good. You know, I was like, okay, there's some momentum here. I suck, obviously. But so from there forward, I transitioned to men's physique, because realizing backstage as I was pumping up, all these men's physique guys are bigger than me as a bodybuilder, so I have some work to do. So I self-coached myself, because I didn't even know coaching bodybuilding was a thing until like 2017, something like that. I knew nothing about it. And so even then I really took pride in being able to do my own stuff and still come in shape, you know? But there was, I was placing everywhere between second and fifth. I was never getting that breakthrough to winning. You know, it was second place, third place, second place, fifth place. I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
You know? So I was prepping for a show going into 2020, and then COVID hit. And 9 days out from the Northern Kentucky Grand Prix, and they canceled the show. And I'm like, well, shit, I'm in shape.
Yeah.
I dieted for 6 months for that show. And then I'm like, I don't know what to do. And so Tyler Bedson, he was a friend of mine, but one of the best coaches in the country. And I was like, okay, I'm at a point, I actually don't know what to do now. Here you go. besides the business was starting to take off too. So there's just so much going on my plate. And I'm like, I know what to do as far as getting myself in shape. You probably have a better eye for this, and I really don't want to do this anymore. So you just tell me what to do and I'll do it. So we linked up and we did our first show together in 2020. And what do you know? I won. So I was like, all right, cool. This is really cool. And then I look back and I'm like, okay, my physique still sucked. It was just no one better than me showed up on that day. And Tyler knew that, like, but he didn't have the courage or didn't want to break my heart enough to tell me that, because I was like on top of the world. I won. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's pick a national show. Let's go do it. He's like,
Pump the brakes.
so we need to grow. I'm like, what do you mean? This trophy says first place, Tyler. What are you talking about, you psycho? You know, and then come to find out he was right. But so we took 2 years off. That was in August of 2020. And then took the entire year from the end of 2020, all of 21. And then we recollected in December and was like, okay, I think we can start a prep now. And we had planned to do the Pittsburgh Championships. It's a pretty decent sized show. You get a lot of good competitors because it's a huge IFBB show as well. They have classic physique, figure, bikini, and wellness, all for IFBB. And then they have the top 5 Olympians they're guest posing. So people are going to turn up there. Yeah. And so we was like, okay, let's stack ourselves up against the best amateur competition that's not at a national show and see where we stack up. And then the goal was to qualify for a national show and then go do one pretty quick. As we were getting more into prep, and I got in shape rather quickly, like 6 weeks out, I was pretty dialed in, you know. And we realized that at Pittsburgh, there's only 3 classes of classic physique. There's A, B, and C. Excuse me. Once you get to the national level, there's 4, A, B, C, and D. And so they kind of had to adjust the height classes and this and that. So Tyler wanted me to qualify against people who are going to be in my class. And so he threw on the table doing the Kentucky Derby, which was the week prior to Pittsburgh. So it wasn't going to be too far out of the stretch, but it was just like, okay, we got to drop a little bit more money, you know, maybe do a peaking protocol. And he's like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to peak. I just want you to go in on a regular day. We're going to feed you a little bit of food the day before and adjust your water slightly the night before, and then just go in just like you would pose on a Saturday morning. And that's what we did, and ended up winning my class there, which qualified me for nationals. So we got our goal, but I'd already signed up for Pittsburgh. So then I had to go do it. So that was the main goal, was Pittsburgh. So went back to the drawing board, see what we needed to fix as far as a peaking protocol, because we were actually going to peak for this show. And so drive up to Pittsburgh. I like to get there early. We got there like Wednesday. The show's on Saturday. And we start going through everything we're going to do, and it went awful. We tried a traditional peaking protocol of a backload, like depleting carbs at the beginning of the week and starting to carb up like Thursday. And my metabolism's rather fast, so it takes a lot for me to actually fill out. But on this time, we started carbing up like midday Wednesday and all day Thursday and all day Friday at like 800 to 1,000 grams every day. Yeah. And a lot of Five Guys, burger and fries and that type of thing. Woke up Saturday and I was like, oh, this is bad. This is really bad. I was having a lot of indigestion. Like my digestion was just screwed up. I remember waking up at 1:29 a.m. and just having just awful abdominal cramps. And I don't know if the stress from that or just the food in general, but I was just a water buffalo that day. I was like, I am embarrassed to step on stage. Still did it. I placed 4th, you know, against some guys that on a good day I would have beat, but I was very off. And so, and Tyler knew it too. I sent him the pictures. I'm like, this is gonna be bad, you know. So I probably had a self-fulfilling prophecy there as well. Got done, and then we're gonna go do Junior USA's the next week. So it's 3 shows back to back to back. Don't ever do that. Anybody that's listening, it's a terrible idea, especially being all over the country, going to Louisville, to Pittsburgh, and then Charleston, South Carolina. Like it was just too much stress of having to. I was living out of my suitcase for a month. You know, I was like, I can't unpack anything. I got to pack it right back.
Yeah.
You know, anywhere, if you compete bodybuilding, you got to take your sheets with you and all your supplements and so on and so forth. So I was like, all right, cool. Just leave it in there. It's going to be dirty and we'll just sleep on it again, you know. But then we went down to Junior USA's and looked the best we'd ever looked. You know, we put together the same exact plan that we did for the Kentucky Derby because we won there and looked really good. So I was like, okay, we'll just do a very untraditional peaking protocol. We went to Five Guys the night before because that's what we did at Derby. Got 2 burgers, a large and regular fry, and sipped on water and sipped on stage the next day. And I was like, the hardest I'd ever been, you know, and sucked. That's where it really took a downhill turn because I'm backstage and I'm feeling myself. You know, I'm looking. I'm like, okay, I normally don't have veins in my legs because I'm stressed out, and there's veins in my legs, veins in my arms. I'm tight, and everything's looking good. I go out there, I hit my posing routine to the dot, and then place 7th. It's just like, okay, all right. There's a lot of people who are still better than me.
Yeah.
You know, and it was kind of a smack in the face, to be honest, because you know, I had a bunch of people down there to watch and everything, and you know, we had some momentum going, except for that little hump in Pittsburgh, you know, and there was a little bit of, you know, goodness going on that day, and then it was like, okay, there's either they're not looking for the look I brought, or there's just a lot of people who are still better than me, you know, and so we're now back into growing.
Yeah, and you know, doing different shows and not really knowing sometimes like what are they going to be looking for. You know, how does that play on your mind? Because you have a program, a training program that you follow to a T. You have diet that you follow to a T. You have all these habits that you follow on a daily basis, and you know what to do. You know, all the way up until the show, and then on the show, you don't really have that. It's just like here's what I have. Here's what I brought. You know, you don't necessarily have you have a certain criteria, yes, but not necessarily as specific as like we're doing X sets of this for this weight, and then we're eating this many grams of this, and like how does that weigh on your mind when you bring everything that you can bring and not necessarily know what other people are going to think of you?
Well, you're going into it. You have to understand that it's a subjective sport. You know, there is no scoreboard to where, you know, if you score more points than your opponent because you're a better basketball player, you know, this is you're putting your physique in front of 7 to 9 people and hoping that they favor you, you know. So really, bodybuilding competition, if you go into it, you cannot be competing against other people. Did I place better? Did I look better at this show than I did my previous show? You know, was this prep better? You know, did I check every single box every single day? Did I get all my water in? Did I get all my supplements in? Did I eat all my food every single day for 12, 16, 24 weeks, however long it is? If you can check off all those boxes and say you placed dead freaking last, you still won because you did everything that you could. The worst thing you can do is sabotage yourself by not taking it serious and skipping cardio here and there and missing meals or substituting foods in that you know you shouldn't be doing and this and that. Like, you know, whenever I hired Tyler on, I was like, if I'm going to lose, it's going to be because of you. You know, I'm going to do everything that you tell me to do to a T. And so if I lose, it's because of the plan, or everybody else was just better that day. You know? So you can't go into it thinking about who is going to show up, because you want to beat competition. You know, the worst thing you can do as a bodybuilder, or the worst feeling, is showing up and no one else showing up and you just get the automatic first place trophy. No one wants that. You should want to compete against people. That's why you're here.
Right.
You know? And then as long as your best is better than everybody else's best, that's really cool. But the one thing you can't control, you know, is your bone structure, your genetics, and this and that. You know, I'm 6'1", and it's hard for me to gain weight. Like if I get to like 250, 260 this off season, it's gonna be a really good day, you know. But for some people, they're 5'7" and 290, you know, and they're just built to be a bodybuilder, you know. And you're never gonna beat that, you know. It's just for guys like, you know, me, who are taller, more lanky. I really hope somebody really good doesn't show up on that day.
Yeah. It's such a unique sport.
Very.
You know, there's so much that you can control. This is kind of going back to what I said, but like there's so much you can control leading up to the show for months or years even. And then on a flip of a switch that day, all of a sudden you don't really control your destiny anymore. And I think that's just got to be so mentally, hard to deal with. And, if you don't get the result you want, you have to look at it as like, did I do what I had to do? And, how do I look compared to the last show? But like, do you ever think like this is the people that are in bodybuilding in my, that I'm going to be competing against? I need to look more like them.
I get it. No, I personally don't, because, I'm never going to be a really super huge guy. I'm never, ever, ever going to be the biggest person on stage. I got to bring conditioning, so if I can maximize what size I can put on and bring it shredded, it's going to be pretty decent, but I can't look at somebody who won and be like, okay, I have to build to look like this, because he may go on to another show and get smacked there. I've seen a lot of guys who, they maybe turn pro, and then they go on a pro stage and they're 16th out of 16. And I'm not talking like, oh, there's only 16 people. It's like after 16, everybody's 16th. So you place 30 seconds, there's just levels to it all the time, and that's a beautiful thing. Because you're never, ever, ever going to be the absolute best, you can't control your genetics. You can only control what you do with them,
Yeah.
So, the guy who beat me, ironically, he's just the guy who plays first in Pittsburgh as well. He, this was so funny because we were backstage getting tanned up the night before, and I was the only person back there getting tan, and then he walked around the corner. And in bodybuilding, there's no discretionary at all. You're back there butt naked, and so we're back there getting tan, and of course I'm looking at him because I'm like, okay, we're getting ready to go to battle, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, I got him, no big deal, I didn't have my glasses on that day or something, because he came out and won our class. I don't remember. I want to say he won the overall classic physique in Pittsburgh as well, and then went down and won our class in Junior USA's and turned pro. And so he had it that day. You put him on a pro show, on a pro stage, the result's going to be different. So, right now, as of today, Chris Bumstead being the classic physique Mr. Olympia, everybody want to look like that, And so, to a certain degree, should you want to attain that physique? If you want to win, sure. But at the same time, you got to understand you're not Chris Bumstead. You're not Breon Ainsley. You're not Terrence Ruffin. You're Jordan Adams. And this is the hand that you've been dealt with. It may be a 6 of hearts and a 7 of spades, but you got to be really good at bluffing sometimes to win the game. So maximize the most that you can of what you've been given.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting, that idea of like doing all you can do and then like being the best at also like showing what you have done. Because I don't think many people realize that aren't in bodybuilding. They don't realize how challenging it actually is to show what you want to be seen. How do you feel like you've kind of gotten better at that over the years?
Stage presence is a really big part of bodybuilding. You can have the best physique backstage and then go on stage and be a bag of dicks because you don't know how to present yourself. Whenever you're literally walking on stage trying to convince those 7 to 9 people to put you as number one. And if you go out there and you're mopey, you're just like, oh, well, here I am. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. You don't believe in yourself, I had an ex-girlfriend one time and she was just really insecure with a lot of things with herself. And I was like, for lack of a better term, I was like, would you have sex with yourself? She's like, well, that's a dumb question. I'm like, well, if you wouldn't, why would anybody else want to? You know, you need to be confident with yourself, you know, and you have to exude that on stage as well. If you go out there and you're, you know, you may have a 5th place physique, but if you're confident in it and you know how to hide certain weaknesses, you can be a 3rd place physique just by presenting yourself, you know? And so, you know, whenever you're on, you know, if you've been in the sport enough, you know, on that day, okay, this is going to be a good look, you know, and whenever you hit everything to the T and everything comes out the way it should, you're going to obviously expel that more confidence. But even if you're having an off day, you know, like I had in Pittsburgh, I couldn't just, okay, well, this is off. Here's the best I got. It's like, no, you know, here we go. Let's fucking go. And wherever it happens, wherever the cards fall, let them fall. You know, so stage presence is very, very, very important, and knowing how to pose, you know, because there's multiple ways, especially in the classic physique division. It's a lot of open to interpretation of how you want to present your physique. And it's beautiful because you can twist and turn and hide certain things. Because like me, I have a blocky midsection, you know, my hips are really wide. That's just my genetics. And so, but with classic, you don't have to hit it straight on. You can tilt this hip back and move this foot forward to where, okay, now you look more aesthetic, you know? So, you know, going back to your question, it's very, very, very important.
Yeah. It's, you know, I think there's so many lessons you can learn on, to like throw on life in bodybuilding. And that's just like such a good one. You know, you might not be the most talented person out there. You might not, you know, have the most gifts, but like if you present it well, if you're the person who, you know, works hard on how to actually be I guess it comes down to like selling yourself.
Yeah. It's one of those, fake it till you make it type things, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and bodybuilding in general, if you're a competitive bodybuilder and you're doing this for a long time, you've got to be fucked up in the head. Like there's something that's not clicking up there.
Because you think it's just like a want to, is it a personal want to like prove yourself, like to yourself? I always thought like the reason we do certain things in life is because like as a kid, we had these experiences and we want to like prove that we can do something, or like, you know, somebody said we couldn't do something or they made a fool of us or whatever. Like I always thought it was that. Do you think it has something to do with like in your past?
I think it's different for everybody. You know, there's for a lot of people, you know, I was picked on, not me personally, but you know, it's being picked on as a kid, you know, and that just sticks in the back of your brain, subconsciously, and now you're just like battling those demons into your 30s, into your 40s. That something happened to you whenever you're 4 years old, you know, and you don't even know it's there, but it's there, and it's just constantly poking at you, you know. I mean, for me personally, how I got into bodybuilding, I graduated high school and I was in college, and I was in the process of going through gaining the freshman, 10 pounds that you're supposed to gain, or 20, however much it is. And I was well on my way, you know. I was not prepared for what was happening. And I was working at a movie theater, and at the time, I mean, you could just go get soda and candy and all this all the time. And this is back before I knew anything, and all I know is my tummy's getting a little bigger, you know. And my girlfriend at the time, she was not a very kind individual, and she elected to pursue other penises, if you will. And the guy who she was sleeping around with was one of these big football jocks and whatnot. He was hot shit at the time. And that was just a switch in my brain. I was like, okay, this is never happening again. Never, you know? So I hated weight training. I despised it. I had to do it for like basketball conditioning back in the day. And I would skip weight training as much as I could because I just hated it. But I'm like, okay, this is what we have to do now. Okay, because this pain of lifting this weight is so much less than that pain. So we're going to mask it, you know? And so as the body grew and, you know, developed, it just became more addicting, you know, seeing the results more so than trying to cover up the emotional scarring or what have you.
Yeah.
And then for some people, depending on, you know, what kind of life you've lived and what lifestyle you have, you know, some people just enjoy being fit, Hardly ever do you see I just enjoy being fit people on a bodybuilding stage, because there's not a whole lot of competition in just, oh, hey, I just want to take care of myself, which is fine. I encourage people to do that all the time. But, bodybuilding competition is so different than every other sport. And I don't even like considering bodybuilding a sport for this aspect alone. You look at basketball, football, soccer, baseball. You have a season, an in-season where you're being competitive for 6 to 9 months. You have a brief period of time where you get vacation and whatnot. And then you have a very short 2-3 month off season, and then you're right back to it. Bodybuilding is the exact opposite. You have 12 to 24 months of off season of trying to get better. And you step on stage for 4 minutes if you're lucky, and then you're right back to it, right back to trying to get better. You compete for the maximum amount of time that you're allowed to step on that stage for, because, you go to any show, even a local small show, they're going to run you through pretty quick. You hold your poses for 5 seconds maximum, and then you're done. Each pose 5 seconds, and you have 7 mandatory poses. You're at 35 seconds.
It's crazy.
It is, yeah. And so that's why I say you have to be a little bit fucked up to do this.
And I think too, you can in basketball. Steph Curry takes a month off. Yeah. He's not going to lose. He's not becoming the best shooter in the league again. Right. But a bodybuilder takes a month off. That's a 12th of the year that they just didn't improve.
Yeah.
Everything is either in bodybuilding, either getting better or you're not getting better.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because, just like with basketball, you have a certain period of time that you're supposed to be in the gym. Your nutrition is important, but they don't care what you look like. Shaq was 400 pounds, but he was knocking people out the way and scoring buckets, that matters in bodybuilding, it's all about the look. They don't care how much you weigh. You just have to make a certain weight at weigh-ins. They don't care about how much you lift. You just have to look a certain way to win.
Yeah.
And so it's a very, very strange concept to wrap your mind around if you think about it.
Yeah, it is. It's, it's hard to even compare it to it's like this or it's like that. Yeah. Just trying to think of even other sports and fitness, powerlifting or things like, CrossFit games. There's all these different things, but even that's more of a game, that type of, there's events in it.
Yeah. The only thing I could really compare it to, and it's only because of the training, would be like running. At Zillameals, we had a professional cross-country runner that worked for us for a brief period of time. And watching him train, it reminded me a lot of bodybuilding, because you cannot stay in peak running condition year-round, just like you cannot stay in peak bodybuilding condition year-round. A lot of these influencers will try to convince you of such things, because they have good genetics, and they can walk around at 6% body fat and not feel like shit. Yeah. Me and you, we're going to feel like shit under 9% body fat. We're not going to function, And so watching him go through his daily routine, you could tell when the race was coming up, because, it was kind of like bodybuilding, where your last week leading up to a show, you kind of back off. You're not trying to push because you don't want to be inflamed, and you want to be able to perform your best on this one day. Mm-hmm. So it was the same thing with running. He would just taper his running down the week leading up so he could perform really good on this one Saturday. And then back to the drawing board. He ran for, 30 minutes, and then, all right, cool. Did we win or not? Now we got to do better.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy what some people, where some people find passion,
Yeah.
It's in the most uncomfortable places a lot of times.
Yeah. On my way up here, I was talking to my parents. We were having a conversation. Humans are meant to overcome things. Our brains are wired to get satisfaction over overcoming things. And, piggybacking off what we were talking about earlier, we don't have as much struggle now as what we did, as even we were growing up, things were a lot different back then. In the 20 years since we were kids, it's vastly different.
Yeah.
And then compare that to our parents and our grandparents and stuff. Our grandparents were in the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And so they were actually struggling just to eat. And so if they made $8 that day, it was a good day.
Yeah.
Versus now it's like, what is there to really overcome unless you set these challenges out for yourself? Like bodybuilding or powerlifting, even, for example. Powerlifting is a little bit different because you get more of a immediate style of gratification, because you can hit a PR in the gym even by yourself, and it's like, okay, fuck yeah, we did that thing. Now we just got to go do it again on this day. And with bodybuilding, it's kind of the same thing. You see, especially the new guys. They see that new bicep vein pop out. They see their abs finally. It's like there's these little bitty victories like that, but it's so fleeting in the reward system. It was never, the reward system for your brain was never meant to be dopamine 90%, struggle 10%. It's the opposite. It's struggle 90%, and then you get the small reward.
Yeah.
Kind of like whenever, you're disciplining your kids, dessert comes after your meal. You have to finish your broccoli before you get this small dollop of ice cream.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the way, a lot of people have lost that, which for those who still have it is a good thing, because the competitive pool has significantly shrank.
Yeah. I say that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you have any semblance of fortitude to go do something in any realm, whether it's business or sports or anything, now's the time.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people are going to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. I thought do you feel like, kind of going back to, finding a passion, like the dopamine that you they feel good of just like doing all this and having that fleeting moment. Do you feel like it's almost like a drug to where the initial time was like the best time, like that first show was the best, or the first time you saw this vein pop out was the best, and you're just still constantly trying to like chase that feeling, and it is like fleeting, and you can never quite get as good, or you just think it like, as you continue to achieve goals, like, hey, that's good, that was as good as that was as good as that.
It's almost like trying to pick your favorite kid, like there's no really right or wrong answer there, because you're always trying to, improve in some way. Like, for example, this last competitive season for me was supposed to be my last one. I'd planned on like just hanging it up for a little while, at least, several years competitively after this last show at Junior USA. It was like, okay, let's go win our pro card and then go out on top. Don't really want to step on a pro stage. Not really a desire. It was just, I want to win and be professional, and then cool, that's it. And then I got this really sour taste in my mouth after, that didn't go the way I wanted it to go. And so, we're back to trying to chase that satisfaction,
A little bit of that initial kind of scar reopening up a little bit and trying to, fulfill that again, kind of like the initial reason for kind of getting into fitness a little bit.
No, it's just, I really hate being wrong. There's in competition, there's two types of people in my book. There's people who love winning and people who hate losing. And it is not the same thing. No. I personally hate losing so much. And so it drives me insane. The guy who won, and I hope he watches this sometime. I have a photo of him the 2 days after our competition. I followed him on social media, and he posted a video of him doing cardio in his IFBB Pro apparel. I had that screenshotted and saved on my camera roll for one day whenever I'm feeling all poopy pants and I don't want to get under the squat rack. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we're good now. Yeah, because he beat me 2 times. All right, cool. Let's go do it. That is where I'm currently at as far as that goes.
Yeah. Man, that's a lot of, kind of like we're talking about, just chasing it. And, going to like individual shows, like, do you ever feel like this, this is the best environment for me. I love this type of show, whether it's a small show, medium show, large show, far from home, closer to home. Like, do you have a preference on kind of how the show is?
Yes and no. Every show is different, competing in Kentucky now that, I've developed such a relationship with a lot of the competitors. It's very nice to have that time to catch up, but at the same time, my preference is being alone, being secluded. Okay, I'm here to do the work, and then that's it, So it's nice to be competing in Kentucky and seeing all the familiar faces and getting to catch up, and we'll all go out to eat afterwards and whatnot. But for 4 minutes on stage, I'm wanting to whip your ass, which is cool, and then we get to talk shit to each other for the rest of the year, But then at the same time, I'm active on social media because I have to be for business standpoint. Being the owner of Zillameals, it's kind of hard to not market, especially when people know that you're the owner, so I'm constantly on there, but if I had a choice to not be, I wouldn't be. Like whenever we went to Pittsburgh, I knew nobody there and it was beautiful. I hate the city of Pittsburgh. I'll never go back. I hate it, but it was nice to be there and no one knew who I was, because guys get backstage talking. We're standing in line for 15 minutes, 20 minutes waiting to go on stage. And so we get to talking, and what do you do for a living? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I own Zillameals. Well, what the hell is that? Like, all right, cool. This is great. You have no idea who I am. Cool. So that's my preference. And I prefer, bigger shows, shows that are going to actually have competition to show up. There's a lot of shows that you can pinpoint on a calendar and just, anybody has this resource available. You can go to the website of the show and see who competed last year. All right, cool. There was only 4 competitors there. I want to do that one because I want a trophy. It's like, okay, or you can go to this competition. You might get your ass whooped, but you're going to go up against regular, like real good competition. Right. And I would rather lose to somebody who actually deserved to beat me versus me beating some people who's just like, okay, this is their first show. I mean, what good is that?
Yeah.
So my preference is bigger and far away.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool perspective, really. It's that seclusion, I think, is so, at least for the people that I've talked to on here, it's kind of that prevalent thing that they like. It's like, do the work in silence, pop up every once in a while, but mostly just keep the head down.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, I see, especially whenever I know that people are doing shows, my friends or colleagues or what have you, and if I see them and they're 3 weeks out from the show, 4 weeks out from the show, and they're posting like daily eating or posting workout videos, I'm like, all right, how the hell do you have this energy to do this? Because by the time you get to that level, and you're coming in shape, getting out of the bed to go piss is a task. Sarah, my wife, we were having a conversation after the last show. She didn't realize I'm wearing shoes in the house all the time. And she's like, that's so strange. Why are you doing that? I'm like, because there's no fat on my feet. Like, there's just little things that go into a prep that you don't understand until you're there. And like walking is painful unless you have shoes on if you're in shape. There's just little things like that. And so, whenever I'll follow these people and I'm like, okay, I know you're coming in shape because you shut up at 7 weeks out and you're too tired to post anything. And I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to be a problem because, you're making TikTok videos and you're 2 weeks out. You're going to be fine. Yeah. Enjoy your last place.
And how do you really, you kind of talked about at the beginning, you don't really like necessarily or on the ground as far as like Zilla goes, packing the food and things like that. But like, how do you still keep that business mind going when you're in that state?
It's all competition, even in business, it has to continue because the customer doesn't give a fuck that you're in prep. They don't care. They just want their food.
Yeah.
And thankfully, my wife, she's co-owner, and if it's 2:30 in the afternoon and I need a nap, she's going to take over, and we have a great staff. They can work without us, but it's we wouldn't know what to do if we weren't there. But we have an excellent staff that knows exactly how it's supposed to run. My job is superbly easy now that we've been in business long enough to where we've developed certain processes and routines, and then they just know what to do, and so they just do it. My job is basically market and create food, and the beautiful thing about that is whenever you're in prep, you can come up with some bizarrely great ideas when it comes to food, because you're kind of like a pregnant woman who just has all these cravings, and you're like, I can't do it, so I'm going to live vicariously through all these people, and I'm actually going to make a profit off of it too. So it's a beautiful thing. Our friend right now who's in prep, Whitney Orick, she's doing her first show, the NPC, it's a Tennessee show, I can't remember the name of the show, on August 13th. And so it's her first ever prep, and she's feeling all these feelings now. And she comes up to pose every week, every Tuesday. And she came up yesterday and had this fucking ginormous peanut butter pie. And I'm like, I know what you're doing, because I've been there numerous times. You're wanting to watch me eat this right now. That way I can tell you what this tastes like, and you can just imagine it, because in 4 weeks you're going to be eating it, but you can't do it right now. So you want me to tell you. I know what you're doing.
That's funny. That's really funny. What is, you talked about maybe before at least making this, your last season, but, after you really do kind of hang things up, what is the world of bodybuilding and the world of fitness to you?
When I stop bodybuilding, it'll be stop competitive bodybuilding. I can't imagine a life without it now, because not necessarily me as a person, but just the things that bodybuilding does for you mentally, because you always have a challenge in front of you, and at the age of fucking 65 years old, I'm never going to look at that and be like, okay, I'm going to go squat 700 pounds. But it's like, okay, what can I possibly achieve right now? Can I still be shredded at 65? Why not? There's plenty. I'm never going to compete that old. For those that do, my hat's off to you, because y'all look great. Y'all have grandkids at this point, and you're competing in bodybuilding. Good for you. But for me, it's to word it delicately, there's a passion for training, and then there's a passion for competition in bodybuilding. Your passion for training should never die. It's gonna wane from time to time. You're never gonna go into the gym every single day and want to do it. Sometimes you're just gonna have to go through the motions, and that's okay, as long as you're going through them and not just being like, okay, I'm gonna take the day off because I feel like shit. It's like, no, you should probably still go do something. Follow the plan. You may not hit a PR. Probably won't hit a PR. Then again, you might have the best workout you'll have that whole week, And so, it's hard, because the older I get, the more competitive I feel, and that mainly draws back to being in business, because in business it's cutthroat. It's not just, oh, hey, if you lose a bodybuilding competition, cool, your feelings are hurt for a day, and then you're right back to real life. You lose in business, you have employees who are relying on that paycheck. You have bills that you have to pay personally. You have customers who are relying on your product or your service. So you lose there, you're losing big time. Like, you're losing your life there. And so competition now, it's so much more to me now than it was in my teens or 20s, whenever I was just, playing basketball or playing any other sport. And so that's always going to be ingrained in me to always just strive forward, to do better in some realm, whether it be business or, hell, it's going to be building the best fucking retirement home in Charleston, South Carolina one day, It's always going to be there, though.
Yeah, that competitive spirit. And I think it is cool. You kind of mentioned it, like, bodybuilding has, this capability to be that man-made struggle to help us develop and become the best version, not only on stage, but the best business owner we can become, or the best, husband or wife we can become, or the best nurse we can become. Like there's so many, it's not just necessarily bodybuilding, but bodybuilding is, I think, one of the best examples of it. So many ways that we can, utilize skill sets from bodybuilding or running or whatever it may be, and kind of make the challenges and overcome those challenges that we do make.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, unless you're just, and I've hardly ever do you see anybody who is, genetically blessed. I mean, for example, Jeremy Buendia, he men's physique competitor in the early 2010s. Watching him come up, he competed 2 times as an amateur. He won both shows, turned pro. Went to won his first pro show. He placed second at his first ever Mr. Olympia, and then won 4 straight. He's very blessed genetically. He didn't have, I mean, don't get me wrong, you have to work out, you have to build that. But it's easier for some than it is for others. That's just how it is. And for example, him got into a lot of trouble because from an outward perspective, there was a lot of lack of discipline in his life that sent him on several different spirals that got him into some legal trouble and stuff like that. And so, whenever you're at the bottom of the bottom and you're not blessed genetically, but you have this goal, you understand that everything matters. Every single grain of rice that goes into my mouth matters. Every single minute of cardio matters. Every single rep that I skip, that matters. And so you have to maximize all of that. And then you're developing these skills of understanding that doesn't just apply here. That also applies at my job. Right. That also applies when I'm home, and there's a separation of all those things, but there's, whenever you're in the gym, you want to be the best bodybuilder. Whenever you're at home, you want to be the best husband or the best father. Whenever you're at work, you want to be the best employee or the best boss that you can be. And all those things are just ingrained together by developing a skill set of, sacrifice here and employing discipline here, and then being able to separate all those things is good as well. But it all boils down to the skill set that you learn, not just how to attain muscular hypertrophy, but the disciplinary actions that you have to impose upon yourself in order to attain that goal.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think you can't really say it any better than that. I think that's it. It's in life, it's the small things that make the world of a difference. You can't achieve a goal of anything by just showing up, and you can't make 100%. 100% can't get 100% better, I guess, overnight. It's that 1%. Yeah. It's that every day, what can I do? And, whether it's what am I putting in my mouth, from a bodybuilding perspective or just from a health perspective, am I going through the drive-thru, or am I cooking something at home, or am I getting something healthy and a healthier option? Like, am I staying up till 2 or 3 a.m. watching Netflix, or am I going to go to bed and get, 7-8 hours of sleep? Or, am I going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix again, or am I going to go to the gym? Like, there's so many things we can do on a daily basis that really do, they add up, I guess. That 1% adds up over time.
100%. And the worst thing that people say on a daily basis, I don't have time. Okay, you're right, because none of us actually have time. Time is just, you have 24 hours in the day. We all have the exact same 24 hours. It's, what are you doing with it? And if you add it up, you spend 6 to 8 hours sleeping, 8 to 9 hours working. So you're at 16 to 17 hours right there. There's 24 in a day. What are you doing? One of the best examples I can think of is The Rock. Like, that guy must not sleep, because he's doing everything. Yeah. And I mean, he's fucking ripped to shreds. He's huge. He's doing 4 movies at a time. He's promoting his tequila brand. He's a dad. And it's like, really? And you don't have time to meal prep today. Right. You're out of your mind. Yeah. Your priorities are not in line.
That's it. Yeah.
Whenever you change your mind and you change your mentality on what you say to yourself and what you say out loud, if you just change subtle words, change. I don't have time to, that's not a priority, which is what it actually is. And you resonate that with yourself, you'll change your mind really quick, because now you're just talking bad about yourself. Oh, okay. Well, the realization is the gym is not a priority today. Should it be? Maybe. Should eating healthy be a priority? Should it be? I don't know. That's up to you. If Netflix and chilling is, all you live for, then by golly, you do it. You're not going to have anything to talk about ever. This podcast would have been over with before it started, but, if that's your priority, then go for it. Most of us are on a different path, and then whenever you change your mind into how you say things to yourself, you'll change how you do things.
Yep. That's a great way to end the podcast, I think. Great way to end it. So appreciate you coming on, man. It was great
man.
to meet you in person.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, before we head out, though, if you want to let people know where they can find you on social media, find Zilla, find all the good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm on social. It's at jordanzilla. That's on Instagram and Facebook. And then zillameals is at zillameals. Zillameals.com is our website where you can order, ship nationwide, open 24 hours a day.
Awesome, man. Well, like we were talking about before, make that healthier decision. Do something that's going to make a difference in a positive direction. And
absolutely.
I think that's what, a lot about, what we put in our body, a lot about how we move, and that's the weight room.
100%.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you.